Hello and welcome. My name is Lino Tadros, and in this video we're going to be talking about Sitefinity logging, but this time we will be talking about logging directly to application insights inside of Azure using Log Analytics Workspaces. If you've watched my previous videos, if you don't, please feel free to find it in my library. I went through why would you want to actually log differently than what's available inside of Sitefinity out of the box, which is file-based under the app_data. There's a Sitefinity folder, and underneath that there is a log file that all the tracing, all the error logs will go inside of there. In a previous video, I show you how to use a database like the Elma from Microsoft Enterprise, for instance, to be able to log into a database so it does not get locked, the files themselves. And also in case of a load balancing environment, you do not have a problem between different servers, for instance, based on a synchronization time and so on. So hopefully you've seen these videos, but in this one, this is my favorite way. I usually never liked the file-based logging. I liked the database one for Elma for a while, but now with the App Insights and the Log Analytics Workspaces in Azure, that is my favorite way. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that as well. So here's Visual Studio 2022 loaded, and I have a sample 15.1 Sitefinity demo websites available in here. Right now it's logging directly to files. It doesn't matter if you actually have it logging to files or logging to Elma for the database, for instance, in SQL Server. Either way, it does not have to stop. The App Insight is in addition to what you're doing. You can disable it completely. You don't have to log using the file-based or the Elma, and you can still use the App Insight as well to send it on a separate thread behind the scenes, which is my favorite way, so that does not affect the speed of your website, especially if it's in production, and I can still do all my tracing and exceptions, monitoring and all that directly from queries inside of Azure Log Analytics Workspaces. And by the way, the first question that you'll be asking, why is this better than Elma, for instance, which is SQL Server database, and I don't have to stop the server from running to be able to view the files and so on, and for load balancing as well, is the UI of Elma. Elma is great. You can see all your 404s and 403s and 500 exceptions and everything, and you can see the stack. It's excellent. But after a while, you get a lot of different things in the database, and there is no way in the user interface to search. I know it's a very simple thing, yet you'll have to write your own user interface customization to make all the stuff happen in Elma. But in App Insights and Log Analytics Workspace, you can actually use the KQL, which we call it Custo language, directly, and you can have added any query that you want to look for a specific Sitefinity exception or any traces or anything like that, and I'm going to show you that in this demo. All right, first thing first, I'm going to go back here to Azure. Let me go ahead and open up my Chrome. I'm going to create a new page in here, and we'll say portal.azure.com. I'm going to log into my account for Azure. And let's go ahead and create a new resource group, and I'm going to create a Log Analytics Workspace. So let me go ahead and say the resource group. We'll say, let's create one of those guys. And in the resource group, I'm going to call it SF151 RG. Sounds good. That's good enough for me. I'm going to put it in the East. I live in Orlando here, so that would be good enough for me. I'm going to create the resource group, and we'll go to the resource group, and there are two things that I need to create. The first one, always have to start with that, and that is the Log Analytics Workspace. We'll say Log Analytics, and hopefully we'll find one. There it is, Log Analytics Workspace, and that is the first resource there. I'm going to create one of those, and we'll put it in the resource group we just created, and I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it SF Log Workspace. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to put it in the same place, of course, in the US East. I'm going to say create this guy, and we'll say create. All right, it's reviewed it and it's creating, and I'm going to come back once the resource has been deployed. All right, great. It has been deployed. Let's go to, I don't even need to go to that resource. I know what's going to be in it. I'm going to go back to my resource group. Let's say there it is. And in the resource group, other than my log space, that's the important part. I need to create a application insight. So we look for App Insights, and let's see if we can find it. There it is. And this one will be the second one in here. I'm going to create an instance of the application insight. I'm going to put it in the same resource group. I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it SF Insights. That's a good name for it. And now you're going to have to associate it with our Log Analytics Workspace that we created in the first place. I have a default one here. That's not the one I want. I want the one that we just created called SF Log Workspace. Let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to say review. Looks good to me, and I'm going to go ahead and create it. And that again will take a few seconds, will happen pretty fast, and we will have both resources available for me. There is one thing I want from this for Sitefinity. And what I want is the instrumentation key. See, I'm in the application insight right now for SF Insights, my resource that I just created. And you'll notice on the right side, I have something called instrumentation key. You need to copy that, maybe put it in Notepad for right now, but we will have to have something, we will have to have somewhere in the configurations in Sitefinity that knows what the instrumentation key is. Whoever have that key will be able to send information from their app, no matter where it is, straight into this bucket that we have created right here and be able to query that as well. All right, we'll leave this alone for right now. And we'll come back in here. All right, what do we have to do in Sitefinity to make this work? First of all, I'm gonna right click on the SF15.1 demo, and I'm gonna say manage NuGet packages. And I'm gonna go change my package source to point to the Sitefinity one, okay? And I'm gonna go browse, and let's look for something called Insights. And hopefully we'll find something from Progress that has to do with Insight. And look at that. There is a Progress Sitefinity.app Insights that is 1.10. And I'm going to click on it, and that's the correct one for 15.1 for Sitefinity. And I'm going to go ahead and install it. It's going to install a lot of different packages as well that are required. So let me show you the list of packages that will be installed with it. See, all of these, they're all coming in from Microsoft Application Insight, some for the dependency collector, from SQL Server, Windows Server, web, all of these. So I'm going to say yes, go ahead and install everything, and we'll accept the licenses for everything. And that will take a few seconds, and after that, we will have our project ready to go. Excellent. Now the project is done. I can close the NuGet package manager in here. And if you take a look at the project right now, there is an extra file that got created for me called the application insights.config. And that is a very important file. I'm going to get to it here in a second. I'm going to need to change something inside of it. But the most important part, of course, is that the web.config file, I want to make sure that it has everything it needs to make this happen as well. So let's go ahead and open up the application insight config. We'll say yes, take a look at all of this. If you go all the way to the bottom of this file that got created, notice there is a comment in here for the instrumentation key. Excellent. So let me go ahead and first of all, let me paste the key in here before I lose it, because I'm going to need to copy this key in here. Let's say Control C, and then I'm going to create it outside of that comment right there. And we will say, and now I'm going to take that key that I got from my resource in the Azure portal, and I'm going to put it right here instead of this key. This is the most important part, and it's okay. It's okay that I'm showing you that key, because after this video, I'm going to delete my resources, so it doesn't matter if you see it. But usually this is a very secretive key. You don't want to show this to anybody if you're going to have it live, because whoever have that key will be sending information to you into your bucket that you're creating in Azure as well. All right. The only other thing is in the web.config file, if you open that, notice there is always an app settings right there. I will need to create a brand new line in here to add. Let me go ahead and align this correctly. I'm going to have to add a key called app insights underscore enable Sitefinity logging, and the value has to be equal to true. That's the other part that is very important for us to do. I'm going to also save you some time. Look for something here in the web.config file. Let's do a Control F. And I need to look for something called validate mode, integrated mode configuration. Notice it's in here and it says it's equal to true. Unfortunately, it cannot be equal to true if you're going to use App Insights. So this has to be false. Okay. And let me go ahead and see if it's available somewhere else as well. Yep. In here, I'm going to say false. And let's see, I don't think it's available anywhere else. No, I think we're good. Let me go ahead and save this file, save all, and I'm going to close all the stuff up. And I should be in good shape. Now when I actually run my application, it doesn't matter that my app underscore data, if I show all files in here, you'll notice there is Sitefinity, there are the logs. There will be files in here. If there is an exception, there will be an error.log. But even if there is no exceptions or error, just the tracing or authentication logs, or you have maybe some audit going on. All of these will show up in here right away. But if you turn it into Elma, you will no longer get anything in here. It will go straight to the database. But either way, whether you have files or the Elma database based, this is separate from what's going on with the App Insights. That will continue to work anyway. All right, so let me go ahead and compile this guy. We'll right click and say build. And once it completes and builds, I'm going to go ahead and run it. And after that, I'm going to go back to my portal, and I would like to start seeing some of the things that might happen there. So let me click on play, and I'll come back after the site starts. Awesome. The site compiled and started, and it says welcome to Sitefinity 15.1. There's no errors or anything like that. But I wonder if I go back to the portal now, and if I refresh, let's say, for instance, we go to application map, and I'm going to go back to overview here really quickly. And let's see, not yet. So this is one thing a lot of people get confused about. Sometimes you don't see immediate thing because this is happening on a separate thread. It has to go through the maze in the portal itself. But usually it takes between a minute to 2 minutes max. But you should be able to get some information, whether it's tracing or exception. But if you cause an exception and run right away into application insight to see what's happening, that might not be the case at all. You will not see it. So you'll have to be patient for a couple of minutes. And that's a good thing. We don't want it to be immediate. That means it's taking away from the site, okay? And I want it to happen on a separate thread so that it does not affect the performance of my site. So this is a good thing. And I'm going to keep going back in here to find out if it's back or not until we see something. All right. I'm going to come back once we see something. All right, it took about a minute and a half, which is not too bad. But notice in here, I have my server response time, my failed request, anything that happened that might actually have caused a problem, for instance, in here, all the insights with the server request. So there are some data coming back, which is great. Now let's go ahead back, and I would like to cause an error, really easy, just a bogus error I'm going to cause, to see if I'm going to get this information directly inside of the App Insight as well. Let's make it as simple as the previous video that I did regarding Elma. I'll do the same thing. Let's right click in here. I would say add a new item. And I'm going to create a web form. And we'll call this one, let's call it crash test. Alrighty. And we'll say add. And once the web form gets created, I mean, it really doesn't matter whether it's web form or MVC or whatever. I'm just going to create it really easily in here. I'm going to go into the page load, and in the page load, we'll say something like throw new, and we'll say exception, and we'll say Copilot is helping out. This is kaboom. I usually like to test with the word kaboom so that we blew up something. Internal error 500 is going to get caused by this. All right, that's good enough for me. Let's go ahead and compile one more time, and I'm going to come back after the site starts. Awesome, it's done. Let's go ahead and test it. We'll say slash, what did I call it? Crash test, right? .aspx, and we're going to push enter on this guy, and I should get the yellow screen of death telling me that there is an exception that occurred. Let me go ahead, and it's compiling the page for the first time. That's why it's taking a little bit of time. But there it is. There is my kaboom in here. It happened. Not only that, but I'd like to also, so this ended up causing an internal error 500, okay? Let's say blah, 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 .aspx. That's a page that doesn't exist. So if I push that, it will give me a different error. That's a 404 error. I'm going to show you just different kind of exception that occur. All right, let's go ahead and wait a couple of minutes, and I'm going to come back and we'll do the search and the query in the Custo and the KQL language in the Log Analytics Workspace to see how we can monitor that. All right, we are back into our application insight in the portal. And notice here, if I go down a little bit, there is something under monitoring called logs. If I click on logs, these are the different queries that got created for you automatically to help you out in case maybe you don't know the syntax of the KQL and you don't have time to learn the KQL language, which is very, very powerful language for logs and monitoring logs and so on. In my case, I'm saying, no, I don't want any help in here. These are all the different things in the application insight that got monitored, like the browser timings, the dependencies, the metrics, like CPU and memory and IO and everything else. But important thing for me is the exception in here. You need to write the query right there. But actually, it's not that difficult. As a matter of fact, the way KQL works, if you just double click on the word exception, it will put the word exception in here, and that's more than enough. if you run the query right now, it will go to the table that has all the exceptions in it, and it will be able to show you all the exceptions that occurred. In our instance is easy because I just started the site. It will be like 2 or 3 different exceptions. But if you have thousands of them, then you need to go to a new line in here, and you'll need to put a pipe, and then you'll say the where clause. And you see there is also code completion. Will tell you what you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for something specific to Sitefinity log type, for instance, and so on. You can definitely do that as well. So for right now, we'll just leave it at exception, and we'll say run this query, and hopefully we'll get something. Not yet. We'll have to wait maybe another minute for the exceptions to occur, but I'll come back in a minute. I only waited like 30 seconds. All right, I waited a couple of minutes. Let's give it another shot. I'm going to click on run for the exceptions. And there you go. We have right now logged 2 different exceptions that happened. Notice the first one happened first, which is the crash test page. If I open it up in here, I would get all the information that I might be interested in, when it happened, also which server caused it, if I'm in a load balanced environment, the exception, and that is the innermost message. This is a kaboom exception right there. And I can go deeper. I can actually click on details. I can get a lot more information. I mean, you can spend a lot of time in here, but everything has been logged directly from Sitefinity into here as well. So this is very, very powerful. Not only that, but also the 404 one for the file was not found, the blah blah.aspx. If I open it up, you will notice in here that the file blah blah does not exist. That's the 404. So I get all my 500, all my 404s, and everything else in between as well. Another thing that I wanted to show you as well is to use the Sitefinity log type. So instead of just saying exception, I might be coming and saying exception. That's the name of the table I'm interested in. And then we'll use the pipe. Sometimes you'll end up having, after a couple of months, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of different messages. I'm going to say limited to the first 50. And then I'm going to extend the Sitefinity log type equals, and I'm going to be passing toString function, custom dimensions of Sitefinity log type. In this case in here, because I only have a 1.404 and 1.500, if I say run, it will give me the same exact thing, but at least it will limit that to 50 different things. You could have a lot different issues coming up, exceptions and so on, that have nothing to do with Sitefinity. Maybe you're only interested in exceptions that have to do with Sitefinity, and you can actually do that as well. So it's pretty powerful. You can also add for exceptions to maybe look for authentication, Sitefinity log type of authentication. You can say health check logs, tracing logs, audit logs. So these are the things that you'll be passing, which Sitefinity log type you're interested in seeing. But you have access to all of this stuff, and it does not slow the site down, which is a major deal, which is not like the other logging mechanisms as well. Again, for one last time, I'm going to say come in here and take a look. For instance, if I click on the failed request right there, and if I click on it, it will take me to the SF Insights failures, and I can see that there is an app status, there is a crash test ASPX, and there's the blah blah ASPX. So I can get a lot more information about the 404s and the 500. So maybe every Friday night I want to come here and find out how many 404s are happening on the site. I will have the total count, and I can dig deeper and find out why. Maybe somebody put something on social media that is the wrong link, and they keep coming to the site with the wrong link, so I keep getting 404s. Maybe you want to fix that. So 500s are very important. You can click on the number in here and go straight and see what the response is and read about the crash test at the SPX. So it makes it very, very nice as well. I believe also you can click on alerts in here, and let's see what the alerts are. If there are any alerts, they will be coming in here. We saw already logs. Let's see metrics, for instance, the CPUs. You can actually create any query. They're all available in here, coming directly from the Sitefinity running site, whether this is staging or QA or production. You can actually have these coming in here. So hopefully this video was important for you to know that you can actually use that. Even though my site was running on my local host, it doesn't have to be loaded in Azure or anything like that, but you can still send all your logs and metrics and everything else directly from Sitefinity into Log Analytics Workspace and take full benefits of being able to query and get to exactly what you're looking for. Have a great one, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in another video from Lino TV and the Training Boss. Thank you.